Hi guys, so it's officially January and I wanted to go over my 2024 vision board and we're going to review everything I did, what I didn't get to, and all of it. This was my lock screen for the majority of the year after I had made it, and then it switched every so often, to like pictures of me and Soba and stuff like that, but this was what it was for the majority of the time. And so I'm going to put it right here for the entire video, and you're going to be able to see little pieces of it as I'm explaining it. Alright, so the first things we are going to go over are the words that I put on there. I put more social media, travel, health, and trust the process. And so for more social media, I went from 400 to 748 subscribers on YouTube, and that's with me being really inconsistent. So it's always like a goal of mine to be more consistent, but of course we'll see. And then health, I learned how to meal prep, which was really good for my just understanding how much protein a person needs to take and like understanding that carbs are good for you and things like that, because a lot of things that someone doesn't know before doing research is just all of the little blurbs that people tell you throughout your life. And then I learned how to not go out and eat fast food or go out and eat dinner with your friends all the time, because that's something that I used to never say no to. So now it's something that I can comfortably, restrict myself and my diet. And then ultimately, trust the process was just knowing that things take a lot longer than I thought. So some of my goals on the back end of like not being shown in the pictures were a little bit outlandish, and I didn't understand that at the time. So ultimately, just learning new things, realizing that processes are processes because they take longer than just a week. All right, so when it comes to pictures, I got really, really specific, but I'm gonna generalize them a little bit. So the first one is a picture of Seoul, Korea. So I wanted to travel internationally this year. Unfortunately, I have an outlying problem with certain things on the back end of my documents. So I'm unfortunately unable to get my passport until I get that document back. And then what I did instead was I did make the steps to start. Next is a picture of a gym. I ended up getting a powerlifting gym membership after being at Planet Fitness and Crunch throughout this year. I just ultimately found that I don't like the inability to have squat racks, so Planet Fitness was out. And then I just realized that I like having a 24-hour gym as well. So Crunch is then out because they close every night at midnight, I think. And then on the weekends they close at 9. So my powerlifting gym, I have like key access to it at all times, 24/7, even on holidays, because they're not always staffed and stuff like that. But it's ultimately what I found was better for me. And then also just in general, going to the gym more often. Since I did 75 hard, that's a huge change to the way that I live my life. The next one down is like an all white room. Initially, it was me getting my own place, but the way that things have like spanned out for me, I realized that it wasn't beneficial for me to move out right now. But ultimately, what I ended up doing was just redecorating, in which case I put up some vines, some lights, and then some fun little pictures. So I specifically put up New York because I really do want to go there someday. And I think that maybe 2025 is when I will go. But in 2024, what I ended up doing was I went to Chicago instead, which was super fun. I went for quite literally 24 hours, which is hilarious to me. But it was a day trip. I got to see the Bean. It's called the Cloud Gaze, I think. And then I got to go and shop. I went to like 3 different Lululemons. I thought that was funny. And we actually ended up getting pulled over on our way home. But in any case, it was a super fun trip, and I did get to go to a big city. I had the graduation cap. I kind of, like, it was an obvious I was going to graduate at some point. And even if I didn't graduate in the spring semester of 24, I was going to graduate at some point in this calendar year. But basically, I graduated with my bachelor's in organizational leadership. So I just applied to OSU for my human resources master's degree. Moving over into traveling, so I actually ended up going to Houston, Texas for 3 days, and I was able to go to the beach. Granted, it's not the kind of beach that everybody thinks with all the palm trees and everything, but there are palm trees in Texas, oddly enough, and I didn't know that, but I did get to spend time at the beach. It was only 1 day, but I still got a tan line, which was interesting to me, and Texas is so flat that it was just the ocean. It was really cool. All right, so the next thing is an overview of like a computer and all that stuff. And ultimately that was meaning me getting my first big girl full-time job. And that was also interesting because I didn't end up getting a corporate job like I thought I was, and ultimately I still do kind of want a corporate job. But as of right now, I decided to be a full time manager at Lululemon for fun. It was a nice rest from, you know, education, but ultimately I have learned a lot about leadership, people, and more human resources stuff as I did do hiring and stuff like that. All right, next down is a cucumber water. I'm not specifically drinking cucumber water, but during the 75 hard, I started drinking a gallon of water a day, and ultimately that helped me have a great relationship with drinking water throughout the day, and it had me create a great relationship with just being hydrated and focusing on my health. So, as of right now, I only exclusively drink matcha and water. I stopped drinking energy drinks since 75 hard, and I don't drink coffee often. I mean, like I can, but what is actually in my routine is matcha and water. All right, and then the plane, I did end up being in a plane for the first time in the last 5 years, and that was when I did fly to and from Texas, which was super fun experience. The most recent time I went to Texas is technically within 2025, so catch that on my next video. But basically, I flew there, flew back on Frontier Airlines. I felt great when I did it. I think that this most recent time I was just like accidentally starving because I kept forgetting to eat. But I kept getting nauseous on my way back this year, so we'll see if that's like maybe I get airsick or something. And then the RAV4 is the most unfortunate one. So when I go back to trust the process, I didn't realize that it wasn't easy to just pay off all your loans and buy a car in the same year. So ultimately, what I prioritized was paying off my loans, and in that, I actually ended up paying $12,000 off towards my loan, which is amazing. It's over half of them, so I'm very blessed to be able to do that and have my mom support me and let me live here while I am doing that and being able to put all of my money towards that. And then in the next calendar year, I will definitely have a new car, whether it be a RAV4 or not. I still do really want a RAV4 in Cavalry Blue, but we'll have to see, what's in store. All right, so outside of my vision board, I do have some 2024 wins that I wrote down. So one of them is paying off $12,000 towards my student loans. That is a huge accomplishment, and sometimes I forget how big of an accomplishment that is because I know that not everybody is able to do that in such a quick amount of time. So that is a huge thing that I wanted to recognize as a win, even though that wasn't in my vision board to pay off all that. It was something in the back of my mind that I always wanted to do. I did get my first full-time job, and I was full-time at Lululemon, but when I was an educator, it was 24 hours was the minimum threshold, but now the job that I have is 36 hours at the minimum threshold, and that's what I truly deem as a full-time job. I traveled to the Red River Gorge in Kentucky, and I got to climb there. I got to learn how to lead. I got to top ropes, and I got to boulder a little bit. I went to Mount Mitchell in North Carolina, whatever that is, and I was there for about 3 to 5 days. I got to hike Mount Mitchell, or like summit Mount Mitchell, and I got to hike Hump Mountain or Hump something like that. And both of those were roughly 10 and then 12 miles, something crazy like that. I went to Houston, Texas, and then I also went to Chicago, Illinois. So I went to 2 major cities, which I am so thankful for. I have never done so much traveling literally in my life. And so I'm very thankful that I was able to have those opportunities, especially all of those were with some of my best friends. I graduated from UC, of course, with my bachelor's, and I just applied to OSU's master's program, so I'm very excited. Hopefully I get in. I'm sure you guys will know if I get in. It'll be very obvious in my content. And then with my health, ultimately, I completed the 75 hard in my first go, mind you. And that was a very big opportunity for me to realize that I have a lot of discipline. I've always had a lot of discipline, but just to remind myself that I can really do anything that I set my mind to. And then I learned how to cook steak. And me and my friend Sarah, we started at Steak Sunday. We had to put it on pause for the past month, unfortunately, but we learned how to cook not only different kinds of steaks, because we did fajitas and we do normal like New York strip steaks, but also we've been learning how to make sides. So we've been doing a lot of vegetables recently. We've done pasta. As I said, we did fajitas, so that was like a whole thing that we had to set up. But yeah, I think that I'm very thankful for how 2024 went. I definitely didn't plan on anything that happened within 2024, but I'm very, very, very excited for 2025.